least 2 previous trials. Both ended in a deadlock. 11 million Americans sit down in front of the TV set every week and they watch a show about a psychic who helps solve crimes. It's fiction, of course. But you may not know that Medium is based on a real person. Her name, as in the show, is Allison DuBois, and she claims to be a psychic and to have helped police along the way. But how many of us really buy into the idea of psychic powers? Well, DuBois has plenty of critics, including some in law enforcement. And right now, you're about to hear her response in tonight's Eye Opener.
Hello? Hello?
Every week, television's Allison DuBois from the NBC show Medium wakes up from a dream riddled with clues to solve that week's criminal investigation. As TV's only psychic crime fighter, Allison can talk with the dead and also tap into the minds of the bad guys to find out their motive, providing crucial information to her boss, who just happens to be the Phoenix District Attorney.
It's been a while since a grown-up saw you, spoke to you, right?
As far-fetched as the story sounds, the program is inspired by an actual person. How, Allison, do you describe what you do?
Not to be abrasive, but I'm a secretary to the dead. I take notes and I pass them on. I'm a bridge.
There's 2.
This is the real Allison DuBois, a self-described medium and psychic profiler. Just like the TV show, she's married to an aerospace engineer named Joe, and they have 3 daughters. DuBois writes about her life and the connections she says she's made with the dead in her books, We Are Their Heaven and Don't Kiss Them Goodbye. When you're getting what you think is a communication from a spirit, are you hearing that spirit? Are you seeing a dead person?
Sure.
What's going on?
I'm hearing it, I'm seeing it. Sometimes you're smelling cigars, so I'll know that they smoke cigars. Sometimes I'm feeling like a punch to the chest, because that's what a heart attack feels like. So that's how they let me know that's how they died.
Her first psychic connection, DuBois says, was when she was 6 years old, and her great-grandfather appeared at the foot of her bed after his funeral.
He said, "Tell your mom I'm not in pain anymore and that I'm still with her."
DuBois claims she's been able to communicate with the dead ever since. 6 years ago, she discovered her knack for psychic profiling while interning at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office in Phoenix.
It was my job to sort the crime scene photos. And while I was sorting it, I started seeing flashes of things that were happening before the person was killed.
Soon after, DuBois decided to pursue a career as a psychic profiler. One of the first cases that DuBois says she worked on, which also became the pilot episode for Medium, was the abduction of a 6-year-old girl in Texas.
Where she was abducted from, I was taken right to that house.
DuBois says she was contacted by the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office in conjunction with the Texas Rangers. Law enforcement had convicted a man for kidnapping the girl, but had not been able to find the child's remains.
And they drove me by the car that he had switched into, after he had abducted the child.
This is the first time DuBois has shared her notes about the case. Information she says she gave to the Texas Rangers to help them find the body.
I put there is horseback riding nearby stables. And then I put the horses get spooked in the areas of this child's remains. I also kept seeing small planes, so that there had to be a landing strip nearby.
DuBois says she also told investigators that the remains of the child would be found within 5 years of the girl's disappearance. The child's remains were found 4 years and 9 months after her abduction. Authorities say on the side of a horseback riding trail in an area next to a military airbase. DuBois points to these elements, among others, as proof she was able to give useful information to the Rangers. But despite DuBois' claims, the Texas Rangers deny ever having worked with her. We couldn't find one single person within the Texas Rangers who would even admit to having talked with you. They said never happened.
The last thing they wanted was for it to be made national or world news where they have to answer for it.
But a member of the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office did confirm part of DuBois' story. Sergeant Bobby Atterbury told us that he not only met with DuBois about the case, but that he was put in contact with her through the Texas Rangers.
I wasn't lying, I guess is what it tells you.
But Sergeant Atterbury also downplayed your efforts. He ended up saying that the information you gave him was pretty darn generic and wasn't that helpful.
Well, that's interesting because he went on the news and said that the information was impressive.
Much of what passes for psychic evidence today, where psychics are touted as having helped police solve crimes, is a trick we call retrofitting.
Joe Nickel is a professional skeptic. He says psychics claim credit after the fact.
It works something like this. I say, I see the number 7. I see water. Then the psychic says, I mentioned water, and the body was found near a pond, or a lake, or a creek. In other words, there are multiple ways we can fit what was said to make it look like it's accurate. Despite the criticism, DuBois insists that what she does is neither a trick nor is it guesswork.
When I work a case, I take the first name of the victim, I write it on a piece of paper, and I just write any impressions that I get connected with it, like motive. You know, was it for money? Was it pedophilia?
How do you get inside the mind of a perpetrator of a crime?
The best that I can figure is that when I'm connecting with the name of the victim, there's such a big impression left on them energy-wise that I'm able to actually use them as a bridge to the person who killed them.
You've got to understand, when we hear these stories,
Sure.
it's very difficult for us to believe that you've actually made these connections. You
know,
understand that, right?
You know, people were very skeptical of DNA when that came out, so maybe people just haven't caught up to where some of us are right now as far as intuition.
While skeptics discount her stories, the writers of Medium keep asking for more.
I've never tried to suggest to the audience that what you're watching is a document or the pure truth of the life of Allison DuBois, but it is all inspired by her particular circumstance and her particular situation.
Thank you so much, because I will need your energy.
For DuBois, what's important is that the show and her books might open people's minds.
I'm trying to put a normal face on mediumship and not make it seem so, you know, crystal ball, you know, 30 cats. Anybody can have abilities, and we should all try and understand what we have while we're here and use it to enrich our lives.
Got one more thing to add here. We did speak with another well-placed law enforcement official in Phoenix who said DuBois' information has helped on at least a half-dozen cases. Her employer, though, wouldn't allow us to identify her, but this is exactly what she told us. Quote, DuBois has been specific enough in details that it seems impossible that she would know this information any other way. Well, it doesn't take much psychic ability to figure out what happened to the Dixie Chicks. Will country music fans ever forgive them for criticizing President Bush? And are they backing down now? Will their new album find a new audience? Now, number 4 on our CNN.com countdown, William Jefferson, the Louisiana congressman at the center of a bribery probe, says he won't resign. This weekend, the FBI raided Jefferson's Capitol Hill office, and investigators say he stashed $90,000 in bribe money in his freezer. Jefferson hasn't been charged and denies any wrongdoing. Number 3, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright says President Bush's discussions about his faith and its influence on his foreign policy may have alienated some Muslims around the world. Number 2 on our list, up next.
Distance, 165 yards. Slope, 17 degrees. Wind speed, 6.5. Spin rate, 11,000. Velocity, 125. Launch angle, 43 degrees from home.
Making the right decision begins with having the right information.
I forgot the Earth's rotation.
Go on, be a tiger. Accenture. Consulting, technology, outsourcing. Accenture. High performance delivered.
The best political team on TV joins Larry. CNN Next. CNN's Washington Insiders on the president, immigration, and more. A Larry King Live special edition.
Cox Digital Telephone gives you the features you like at a price you'll love. With the Cox Simply 3 package, you get caller ID, call waiting, and voicemail, all for just $19.95 per month. Save even more by adding Cox Nationwide Long Distance for only 5 cents per minute with no monthly charge. Plus, for the 3rd year in a row, Cox received J.D. Power & Associates' highest honor in telephone customer satisfaction.
Switching is easy. You can even keep your same phone number.
Call 623-215-7257.
Do you suffer from type 2 diabetes? If so, and you're on a stable dose of metformin, you may qualify for a diabetes clinical research study being conducted by Radiant Research. Qualified participants may receive study medication or placebo, study-related medical care, and may be compensated up to $350 for their time and travel. For more information, call Radiant Research at 1-888-92-STUDY.
Hopkins will be history.
It's the next challenge for the light heavyweight king.
I've saved my best for last.
And the final fight for a legendary champion.
You got any excuses tonight, Roy?
And Gonzo Jones on a hard left hand.
I'm going to shut him up for good.
The executioner at work.
This will be a legendary ending. I'll end another legend.
The combinations begin to flow.
In a fight to the finish. Tarver versus Hopkins, Saturday, June 10th. Live on Events on Demand pay-per-view.
Order Hopkins versus Tarver. Live June 10th on Cox Digital Cable.
Experience the most beautiful place in America, Sedona, Arizona. Alive with creative energy. You can feel it in the air. Sedona, an environment that stimulates the youth and romance in all of us. Sedona, quite possibly the most intriguing destination on Earth. Come see for yourself. Everybody's looking for something. Find it. Experience Sedona, Arizona's scenic sensation.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Experience my 100% pure New Zealand. Real stories from real people. Immerse yourself in the beauty of the land.
I love noisy, lively cities, but I also like quiet places. And there's still lots of quiet places in the world. You just have to walk a little further to find them. A lot of people come to New Zealand for a sort of full-on adventure holiday, and they jump off things and bungee off this, jet boats, and have a wonderful time. For me, there's no substitute for walking. New Zealand's been used a lot for locations for movies lately, and there's good reason for that. It's a small country, but there's lots of different landscapes. If I was to go 100 k's in that direction, there's rainforests and fjords and glaciers. If I went 100 k's in that direction, amazing seascapes and beaches. So you've seen New Zealand on film, and I've talked about it enough, so come over and have a look for yourself and make your own movie.
Isn't it time you planned your 100% pure experience too? Visit newzealand.com today.
Well, right now, millions of dollars and one of the hottest careers in country music are on the line. The outspoken Dixie Chicks release a new album at midnight tonight that already has some fans in a rage. As you know, the Chicks were country superstars until their lead singer criticized the president 3 years ago. Well, polls show that most Americans are also critical of the president now, but apparently not in the world of country music. And the Dixie Chicks may be adding more fuel to the fire, as we hear now from entertainment correspondent Sabila Vargas.
Those may be fighting words, but any political message in the new Dixie Chicks album is between the lines.
It's not a political album, but it's political by inference in that they're directly or indirectly addressing their own situation and sort of being defensive and defiant about it. And through that, I think you can read into the fact that they still feel the same way or worse about Bush and the war and all the things that got them into the trouble they're talking about on the album.
Taking the Long Way is the Texas Trio's first CD since 2003. Since before the U.S. invaded invasion of Iraq when lead singer Natalie Maines told London concertgoers she was, quote, embarrassed to be from the same state as George Bush.
My apology was for the words that I used, but not for the motivation behind the words and for my beliefs.
Despite that semi-apology, fallout in the conservative country community was immediate. Some called the chicks unpatriotic, treasonous even. People picketed their shows.
Of course she was wrong for what she said.
And radio stations refused to play their music. But with the president's approval rating at an all-time low, some are rethinking Nashville's harsh treatment of the Dixie Chicks.
I have a big problem with what they did to the Dixie Chicks. You know, I don't think that their political stance should in any way have their career taken away from them. You know, that was just wrong.
Sony Music isn't taking any chances with the new release. Walmart, Amazon.com, and iTunes are all selling the disc at a discount. Throw in high-profile TV appearances, and the Chicks could end up with a #1 album, despite a whole new batch of strong opinions from Maines in a Time magazine cover story.
She said, "I don't respect Bush," because part of her so-called apology was that you have to respect the office no matter who's in it. Now she's saying, that doesn't matter. I don't respect him at all.
Dixie Chicks' opinions might have lost them a lot of their old fans, but just might gain them a lot of new ones.
Time heals everything, but I'm still waiting.
Sabila Vargas, CNN, Hollywood.
And so far, 2 singles released from the Dixie Chicks' new album aren't burning up the country charts. Not Ready to Make Nice peaked at number 36, while Everybody Knows stands at number 50. Time right now to take a quick biz break. Stocks dropped and then bounced back today. Not quite into positive territory, though. The Dow ended the day 18 points lower. The NASDAQ lost 21 points. The S&P lost nearly 5. Yahoo was one of the first hot tech stocks today. The stock gained more than 2% after a report in Barron's called the internet search company Yahoo undervalued. And mortgage giant Fannie Mae is expected to face several $100 million of fines tomorrow. The Associated Press reports a settlement has been reached over allegations that its executives manipulated accounting to collect millions in bonuses. Larry King Live starts at the top of the hour tonight. Members of the best political team on TV join Larry with the scoop on Washington's fights over illegal immigration, domestic spying, and much more. Number 2 in our CNN.com countdown tonight, a new suspect in the Natalie Holloway case will be released from jail tomorrow. Guido Weaver has been indicted in the Netherlands for murder. He says he's innocent. Natalie Holloway vanished a year ago in Aruba. The top story in the countdown, straight out of this break.
CNN, all new tonight at 10. FEMA trailers, thousands still sitting empty. The government says it has a plan. You won't believe what it is. Anderson's keeping them honest. CNN tonight, 10 Eastern.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready to land.
Within the miles
Please return to your seat and make sure your carry-on bags
that lie between us, away with the sea.
Air France.
As a growing business, you don't always get the attention you really need. That's where the principal can help. From banking to health plans to retirement solutions, we have lots of ways to help a not-so-big business rise above the crowd. The Principal Financial Group will give you an edge.
We're not mining or trolling through the personal lives of millions of innocent Americans. And by the way, anytime you hear the United States government talking about wiretap, a wiretap requires a court order.
Next on America Uncovered, where have all the wrinkles gone?
Where are the worry lines? Cosmeceutical companies who prosper from fixing wrinkles are concerned. And they're blaming Swedish automaker Volvo.
Volvo's cars make people feel too safe and worry-free.
Volvo's invitation to visit your local retailer for the current model year-end sales event with attractive lease offers can only make things worse. Officials at Volvo had no comment.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
He volunteered.
We were drafted. She enlisted.
And off we went to Asia, to Europe.
The Gulf. To do our duty.
Serve our country. We were buddies.
Shipmates. Best of friends.
I'll never forget his courage.
Her dedication.
The way he made you laugh.
And I'll remember him.
Remember her?
I'll remember them. Always.
Number one on our countdown, we covered it just a few minutes ago. Singles from the Dixie Chicks' new CD are getting the cold shoulder from a lot of country radio DJs, that is, 3 years after Natalie Maine's criticism of President Bush. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Good night.
Tonight, can the president catch a break on Iraq or immigration and bounce back in the polls? Will Republicans run away from the president in the midterms? Do Democrats have a campaign slogan besides, "We're not the GOP"? Plus, the FBI raids a congressman's office and finds a big stash of cold cash at his home. Is there a culture of corruption on Capitol Hill? That and more with the inside scoop on Washington's hot-button headlines from the best political team on TV. Next on Larry King Live.
Good evening. We're in Washington with quite an assemblage tonight, as we say, the best political team on television. Let's meet them. John Roberts is CNN's senior national correspondent. Wolf Blitzer is the anchor of CNN's The Situation Room and host and moderator of Late Edition with Wolf Blitzer. John King is CNN's chief national correspondent. Candy Crowley is CNN's senior political correspondent. J.C. Watts, a prominent CNN contributor, former congressman, Republican of Oklahoma, founder and chairman of the J.C. Watts Companies, an ordained minister and a former star collegiate quarterback. And James Carville, CNN political contributor, formerly one of the co-hosts of Crossfire, Democratic strategist, married to GOP strategist Mary Madeline. And we have to get that in, James. Later, we'll be joined by Ed Henry and Susan Malveaux at the White House and Dana Bash on Capitol Hill. All right, we'll start with the Bush story. That's what we led with in the open. And we'll start with John King. How bad is it?
It's pretty bad. You have an incumbent president who's at 30-something% in the polls. Republicans are trying to keep their majorities in Congress, and they're resigned to the fact that the president is probably going to be below 40 for the rest of the year. Their only hope of getting him up above is a dramatic turnaround in Iraq, and nobody thinks it will happen that fast. They think this is the environment they're going to be in, so they're going to have to fight it out. And they'll fight it out with Karl Rove now in a new role at the White House, getting much more involved in day-to-day campaigning. In fact, he's out this week raising money in Nevada, in California, in Illinois, not only raising money, Larry, but meeting with endangered Republicans and saying, this is what I think you need to do to get your campaign on track.
What does this do, Candy, to the congressional races if the Bush level stays low?
Well, it helps. I mean, it's the tide that lifts Democrats up and pushes Republicans down. I mean, you know, what Republicans are trying to do is say, look, this is about the district. This is about my district. They're trying to make this a non-national race. And what Democrats want to do is say, this is about change. This is about, you know, a party that's in power of every arm of the government. We need to get them out in the House or get them out in the Senate. So the Democrats are pushing change under whatever